We're joined by our politics editor, Mark Perlman. Mark, France's president, he managed to stare down, you'll recall, that the strikes by rail workers when he passed reforms there. What's it going to be like, though, with this leaderless movement?
Well, it's proving to be much more difficult. You're right. There was this major reform of the railway system. There was also the reform of the labor law, and you had the unions calling for demonstrations. But this was classical. What's happening now is unknown territory, both for the demonstrators, because they're not put in the streets by the unions or political parties, but essentially by themselves and by social networks, but also for the government, because the government is used to have someone to negotiate with or to fight with. There, it's a leaderless movement, so it's proving to be much more difficult. And also, yes, they're protesting against hikes for fuel, but more generally, they're fed up with taxes, and it's much more difficult, even though the government can claim that it's lowering taxes in some levels. Clearly, the fact that the prices are going up at the gasoline station is seen by many as the truth, and especially those who are struggling to go to work, need to take their cars and not using the subway system in large cities, because this is really a movement of the French, the normal French, I would say, you know, the ones living in small cities, medium cities, not large cosmopolitan towns like Paris, for instance.
And those middle-class citizens were the key constituency that Emmanuel Macron fought over with the far right in the runoff of the presidential election in 2017. How are the political parties from the far left to the far right in the opposition? They've been expressing their solidarity with the movement, but how much political hay can they make of this?
That's a good question. No one knows because, as I said, the unions didn't start this, the political parties didn't start this. Obviously, some of them are using this and clearly jumping on the bandwagon to try to say Emmanuel Macron is really the leader of the elite, of the cities. He doesn't care about the real French, quote unquote. And the National Front is at the forefront, if I may use the expression, of this protest movement. Marine Le Pen clearly in favor of it. The Conservatives are also, we saw the leader of the Conservative Party, Laurent Wauquiez, go and support the movement Saturday on the field. The Socialists who are in power, they don't really know what to say. The far left is also in support, but trying to keep it distant because no one really knows what happens, because it's a leaderless movement. Some are saying this might morph into a political movement, a little bit like the five-star movement in Italy, but we're far from it. No one really knows what will happen, starting with the government. They put out some measures to try to avert this last week. It didn't work. Now there are calls for a new movement next Saturday. We'll see what happens.
A new kind of populism.
A new kind of populism, yes, it's really a mixed bag, because we've seen some people from the far right, some people from the far left, but most people are fed up. And you never know where it starts and you don't know where it ends.
All right.